The driving mission at Go Sports is to bring you the best paintball content and broadcast in the world, behind the scenes, in the pits, and on the field. To continue this mission, we're rolling out a renovated website platform across the board with easier search functions and a more robust chat system for better interaction with your fellow fans. Dive farther into the game with a new integrated stats portal. Get your insight into the game anytime, anywhere, with an improved functionality across all mobile devices. Check it out now.
Welcome to Go Sports Tactics. I'm Matty Marshall. I got Harris Hussein here. You're obviously one of our most colorful guests.
He's playing on. He's still playing on. And try to spread this field just a little bit, just to get myself in a better position. Luckily, I was able to dodge it because I got NFL Combine athletic ability, you know what I mean? Now, Fred does a great job. Boom, blind shoots me. Fred thinks that there's no corner, so that's a lack of communication. And hi, Fred. Yep, that's you. Blair, you're out. Stipula got way too greedy. Why would you do that? You did the hardest part. You got into our side, bro. Stay where you are. Stupid, stupid mistake. Dave Haber's still looking for pack shots. Dave, it wasn't there 5 seconds ago. Why would it be there? Who's my next threat? You're in front of me. You are my next threat. Player, you're out. You look stupid. Why? Because you're looking cross for nothing. If you get anything out of this tactics show, it's wide zone control. You cannot let the guy fill out. You got to have outside contain at all times.
Buzzer is going to be the bonus as these players switch sides, and looks like Meter going to be the first to go now. Meter trying to move towards that bonus bunker buzzer, and Ryan Hall also makes a move. He's going towards the orange buzzer.
Looks like Dimitri's retreating back to that back center. He's really comfortable there.
Yeah, looks like he's just trying to contain the aggression here of Ryan Hall. Now Meter's going to come back over towards this bonus buzzer side of the field, and then take a pretty big bite to get across. That's a pretty big gap here. Another big one to get from the Dorito, and he's going to coast in. He's going to hit the bonus buzzer.
It looks like Ryan's a little confused on being killed.
Yeah.
It looks like some confusion here.
Well,
We got ourselves a gunfight.
Well, Clint, Meter Nino is taking advantage of that little lull in the action, and then getting the shot there and goggling up Ryan Hall.
Monday night, Jesse Stevens versus Mark Ice Baginski. The Lou versus the Ice. Popcorn's ready, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go.
And here Ice is going to commit to try to hit that blue buzzer with the jump shot, and nobody hit the buzzer. Oh, and they're just going to do the good old Texas standoff right now.
That should be a little bit of -5 on both these.
We haven't seen one of those yet.
Hey, Jesse, you got everything to lose, baby. Not today, kid.
Welcome to Go Sports Alive. I'm Matty Marshall. I got Fred Berkley in the seat today. Going to be talking about a decent amount of stuff. Fred Berkley is going to be participating in the Ultimate Shootout number 3 and number 4. And it's going to be, first up, it's Cody Mikowski in the quarterfinals. That is his opponent for 003. So we're going to be talking about Fred Berkley's story. We're going to be talking about the team that he plays on, the Fort Wayne Outlaws. I want to get his opinion on the Ultimate Shootout in general. Obviously, we already got these in the book, so we can't disclose what happened. But, Fred, coming in here, I just thought you were such an underrated player. I'm so happy that they gave you a chance to play in the Ultimate Shootout because, you have been Mr. Consistent for the Fort Wayne Outlaws for years now. And all of your peers know how good you are. And so, everyone knew what type of game you could bring into a one-on-one format like the Ultimate Shootout. Also, everyone mark your calendars. Monday night paintballs, definitely a thing now. So it's August 10th. We got the semifinals are actually starting here in 002 Ultimate Shootout, and it's a good game. I can't obviously tell you what happens. Mark Baginski and Jesse Stevens, it was definitely a nasty match. The rookie versus the veteran who helped San Antonio X Factor, take a series championship last year. So without any further ado, let's jump into this conversation, man. First of all, how you doing today, Fred?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty damn good, man. Happy Friday. And, it was stoked to see you down in Texas, even though we were all doing our due diligence to, quarantine and social distance, et cetera. But it was good to see you down there. It just has sucked this year because, we get so, we were talking about this at the field a little bit, how, and this is just for everybody, regardless of what your thing is that you do, but especially for paintball players, you get so used to for years traveling to all these different places, seeing all these different people. You set your schedule up around practices and tournaments, and obviously everyone has work and regular lives and stuff. But anyway, it just, we kind of talked about just how weird it was this year to kind of get into this situation where, there's no big tournaments anymore. And it's like, okay, you're just sitting around in your garage, sipping some beers. Like, okay, well, what do we do now? So I was glad that you decided to, to take the opportunity to come down and play the Ultimate Shootout. But it's weird though, right? Like not having any tournaments to go to. I know you guys did play at the tournament. So another thing we got to talk about is the event that just happened too. We did have Joe Barrett on the show yesterday. Sacramento DMG ran the table, won 6 games in a row and took that tournament. But you were there for that one, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, yeah, just talk to me about how.
Throwdown.
Well, let's talk first about just how kind of weird it's been here, and how it's been because, again, you're a grinder. You guys play a lot of paintball. I've been to your guys' field out in Fort Wayne before. Great facility. I love what Jeremy and Mike have done with that thing. But yeah, it's just weird, right? To not have any of these big events.
Yeah, it was really depressing at first. Like, when everything first hit and like they started canceling all the events and stuff, you really didn't have much to look forward to. And it was just kind of the first few months of lockdown, it was just kind of really depressing. And I kind of felt like it took a few years off my life, really. Like, you talk about Vegas, that seems like it was years ago. Like, it's been rough,
yeah.
But luckily we were one of the states to open up kind of more earlier. So I think in May we were out there playing again. We were having team practices and stuff like that, and kind of getting back to just kind of feeling like a competitor again and having a sense of purpose out there on the field. And
well, before we kind of get in and talk about all this different stuff we got to talk about, because I want your thoughts on, the Mark Baginski, Jesse Stevens semifinal match. Clint Johnson also made it in to play Meter Ninos in the semifinals for 0-0-2. Just want your thoughts overall on the Ultimate Shootout. And then obviously what happened this past weekend at the, at the Kentucky Open or whatever it was being called. And then the Outlaws. But how did you get started? I've never heard your origin story before, because I feel like you've been around forever, but I don't think we've ever had how the hell you got into paintball conversation, the two of us, before, even though you and I have had quite a few beers over the past couple years,
Yeah, that we have. What got me started was John Crover. If you remember him, he was a longtime player for the Outlaws too, and just kind of, he had a kid recently and decided to kind of hang it up a few years ago. And I think it was like back in '99, like we were in 8th grade at the lunch table and stuff, and he'd gone out a few times and just got his first, like, I think he had like a Tippmann 68 carbine or whatever. And, it was just insisted I come and play. And then, I played that one time and it was just instantly hooked. And we ended up playing like a 5-man at that field there. And we got like 3rd place or something. And I had like a Stingray brass eagle gun, and the field owner let me trade.
Terrible.
Yeah. But for my prize, like the field owner traded me for a Model 98. And then I completely like kind of broke that down, did all like the mods you could on it to make it as cool as possible and all that stuff. And eventually we got on like a legit like kind of speedball tournament team, like Team Havoc. They were an ICC team. I don't know if you remember that Indiana Captain Council. It was kind of a big regional tournament series here in Indiana, and we started playing that. I got an Angel LED, and we were kind of doing that for a while. And eventually we worked up in like 05, we were playing on a D2 team out of Nashville, Indiana. It's down in Brown County. It was the guy that owned the CTS, which was the tournament series that took over the ICC. We were playing like for them and kind of reffing the tournament series there. And then we kind of fell off. And then Mike Schlemmer, he created Trade My Gun. And before then, he was running like a TMS wholesale kind of operation. And his son had got into paintball and stuff. So he wanted to kind of build up the scene here in Fort Wayne and decided to sponsor like a bunch of paintball teams. And like I was there for the tryouts and stuff, and kind of ended up being like kind of the leader of his amateur team there. And
what year was this?
Next year in 08. That was 07. And then in 08, he created the Paintball Plex, which was like this huge full-size indoor field. And that's where I was able to actually really start like playing paintball like on a very regular basis, and getting really competitive about it and stuff. And in 09, he created Team Edge, which was like a D3 X-Ball team. We just kind of basically had that 1 year, but Mike was all in on it. And like we played quite a bit of paintball that year and all that stuff. And it just kind of, after that, it just kind of, players were kind of running teams, stuff like that. And it kind of, I was getting ready to quit there in 2011. And kind of after the World Cup there, I stopped playing like over the off season. And that's when Jeremy Salm came to town in 2012. And then he was really starting to put together like a real high level competitive paintball team. And I was kind of there to be a part of that. And he's really kind of given me the road to get to where I'm at today as a player and stuff, going through that whole journey. And that's kind of pretty much my story. I was just like a little Indiana boy, and I didn't have the funds to go to the Badlands and play Saturday and Sunday when I was just out of high school and stuff like that. And really, I'm just very fortunate for, the scene that's kind of grown up here in Fort Wayne, and I've been able to be a part of that. And definitely thankful.
And I say this all the time, but it's so important. You got to thank the prime movers, because paintball can be prohibitively expensive. This is another, it's like the whole, like people are like, oh, it's like a pyramid scheme and you have all these divisional teams and they go up to the pro team. I'm like, yeah, dude, but okay, cool. But if you get in on their D4 team, you're going to get a discount on paint and gear that you would not get yourself if you went to the field. So there's a reason that exists. So yeah, the dudes at the top kind of earn the right to play there. They're way better than you. So yeah, their shit's going to be free, but you still got to pay, but you're still paying less than you pay anyway. But those prime movers, that, the guys like Mike, guys like Jeremy, that come into an area like Fort Wayne, not known as, there's paintball everywhere. But when a good field pops up and guys start to get really dedicated and they really like to grind, I mean, it really grows players. It's a very fertile ground to exploit whatever sort of talent exists in that area. And then it will, like a magnet, attract people from in different places. So yeah, I think it's awesome that you guys have been able to do that. But I think that your story is instrumental, and I think that a lot of people, it will resonate with a decent amount of people, because, the Outlaws have been a team that every year, it's funny because, every year I call all the guys and different players and teams and captains and coaches and owners and have conversations with everyone. Hey, how's your team look? Who'd you pick up? Who's your starting five? Who's playing well? Blah, 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 blah. Just do my due diligence to know what the hell I'm talking about. And every year I call Jeremy up, and this year on the drive out to Vegas, so, it's like a 4.5, it's like a 5-hour drive, depending on LA traffic or like Riverside traffic as you're getting out there. So I got a lot of time to burn. And I typically have this conversation with Jeremy every year, and, or, a little before. And anyway, so I called Jeremy. He doesn't call me back. I see him at the tournament. I'm like, bro, how come you didn't call me back this time? We always have such a good talk about everything. He's like, Matty, I'm so tired of saying the same shit every year. It's the same thing, dude. Like, I just don't want us to underperform again. I feel like this, and then he went through who's on the team, but that's a story for a lot of teams, and having to persevere mentally through that, not leave. I mean, you've been on that team the whole time. You've seen guys come and go. Jeremy's a paintball legend. He's a very intense coach, though. It's tough to be in that mental environment for some people, but you've been able to persevere to the point where, you are getting the call to come play in an ultimate shootout, and you are respected amongst guys in the league because they know how good you can be. Like, people aren't going to sleep on Fred Berkley because you've earned that, even though you're playing on a team that has struggled for relevance in the pro league. I just feel that side of things, and you kind of talking through those struggles, because that's a lot of teams out there, man. It's so hard to be, it don't care what division it is. If you're in D3, there's a ton of teams in D3. So you got to run the table that weekend just to get on to set the center stage to play for first and second. And then you got to beat the other best team that's out there. And to do that multiple times, it's very difficult. So the majority of guys that are playing tournament paintball, or girls that are doing this out there, are struggling, to get wins. And they're in that struggle. So I just thought, because you've seem to be so calm and composed all the time. I mean, yeah, you're going to get angry at stuff too. I mean, you're not a robot, but you seem to be pretty stoic about the struggles that you guys, and you particularly, and your team as an aggregate as a whole, have had to persevere through. So can we kind of crack into that a little bit? Because I just think a lot of people can maybe learn from the experiences you've had, getting the team to go pro, being pro, trying to be with the best teams in the world and make Sundays. And, over the years, guys have made a couple Sundays here and there, but it's always been a struggle. And the Outlaws, it's like you guys throw leads away, you'll throw away high body situations occasionally. That has allowed you to shine, though. That's why you become Mr. Consistent, because you're like almost always the last guy left alive. But anyway, so let's kind of just crack into this a little bit if you're down.
Yeah. We had like our original crew, like with Cody Mikowski and Tyler Osborne and the Snake and stuff like that. And like we had stayed together, I think, until 2016 when like Cody left and Tyler left, I believe, at the same time and stuff. So it was kind of a going to the drawing board there.
Your opponent, it is interesting that Cody's your opponent as in the quarterfinals at 03.
Definitely up to mystery.
Sure. Yeah.
But after that, then we had to kind of bring some of our players up. We've always kind of had a farm team with our D2 team or semi-pro team, whichever they are. And that's where we've always pulled players from. So we brought up guys like Cody Chong. That's when I think Jason Stapula came over and joined our team. He's kind of been with us for quite a while. He's a good staple for us too. Kind of going through there, we kind of ran with that squad for a little while until maybe like I think the end of 2018. We really lost a lot of guys. Cody left then. John Crover decided to kind of stop playing. And I think we were at our tryouts for the 2019 season, and it was literally – we had 3 guys sitting there. It was me, Gabe Melching, and Dave Haber. And we were just kind of looking around like, you know, what are we going to do here? Like, we definitely scrapped some stuff together. But I mean, for the progress we got that 2019 season, I mean, you might not have recognized it if you weren't familiar with the guys and stuff, but like basically starting from scratch. And then I think by Chicago, we were 2-2 at that event and stuff, and we were definitely making headway as a team. And it's we kept most of the guys together for the start of this season, but with, you know, everything that's going on, it's just kind of really put everything into stall. You know, you stop practicing, start losing that continuity with your guys and stuff, and it's been tough. But I mean, we haven't really had many events to play and go out besides this past weekend, but that was a good experience too. The Kentucky Shootout Classic,
so
whatever
I definitely want,
calling it.
Yeah, last weekend. I want to talk about the Kentucky Shootout or Kentucky Open or COVID Open, whatever everyone was calling it. But I want to talk about that. But I kind of want to stay on the Outlaws real quick because I just think that, you know, picking your brain about these tense moments in which, one, you have to deal with a coach who's found, you know, I mean, Jeremy Salm was on Avalanche during their run. He's a legend. But he's a very intense coach, man. He doesn't mince words. He's going to let you have it. I mean, he's notorious for the tongue lashings he gives people. And some people can't take that. You know, it's that Mike Hinman school of coaching. And it's, you know, anyone that's ever been involved in any sort of sports, you know, you do have different styles of coaching. But I definitely had a lot of hardcore coaches in baseball and football growing up. I had some chill coaches too. I had some guys that were chill on one day and nightmares on another. And that's just part of, you know, that means they care. And they see something in you and they want to get the best out of you. And so if you want, you know, a pat on the back and a cookie, like, you know, organize, that's probably not the best way to go about getting the best out of people, in my opinion. T-ball. Yeah, it's not T-ball, man. You know, like this is paintball or whatever it is, you know, whatever it is you're doing. I'm a firm believer in a strong voice of a coach. My favorite coaches, I mean, even guys that are like, you know, Rusty can be pretty chill, but he'll also, especially if he's, you know, dealing with a team that's not dynasty, you know, he'll give you an earful. I played with Rusty. He's a great coach, you know, but he will give you a tongue lashing if you need it, if he feels that that's appropriate. You know, it's like, you know, I mean, and you have to know how you can coach each guy, but you seem to be one of those guys that just, you know, you're unfazable in those moments. You know, when Jeremy's blowing up at you guys, you seem to be pretty calm and composed inside. I don't know really what's going on in your head, but I mean, maybe you're like, man, this is some bullshit, but I don't know exactly what you're thinking. But so just dealing with that type of coach, I think, is instrumental for a lot of people out there, especially younger people coming up, people that are in the midst of that currently. And then just the struggle to, you know, how difficult it is to try to be relevant when you're to try to be great. You know, I mean, you guys are trying to, you know, you guys, I've been to your field. You guys played a lot of paintball when I was there, and it's, you know, you are actively trying to make the team better. So if we go back to that Chicago performance, I have the notes in front of me. You know, it didn't work out for you guys as you missed Sunday, because the losses you had, you lost too many points because you lost X Factor and you lost to Revo 2-6, but you beat Aftermath and you beat Uprising. And anybody that can beat Uprising is a good team. They're our most inconsistent team in the league, but they can, you know, Uprising has proved that they can beat Impact. They can beat Houston Heat. They've beat the best teams in the league. And that was a really close game for you guys, and it was your last game. It was a good look. Unfortunately, your plus minus was a -6, so you guys weren't able to move on. But those are those frustrating situations. So can we just, before we go, I do want to talk about the Kentucky Open and some more about, these things. But I just think that the lessons you've learned, the life you've lived here in paintball, being on the Outlaws and struggling for relevance, other people might be able to pick up those lessons, if you're willing to talk about how difficult that is. Like, how do you maintain your composure when things aren't going well?
Really, you just got to be tough. You can't buckle. You can't give in. You can't give up. It's like Jeremy gets mad and stuff like that. It's just like, what I do, I just try to take his energy that I feel off it and then go out there with that energy, because I know what he's saying. He's just mad because we're losing, stuff like that. And I mean, I'm just as frustrated. So I mean, it's no point in getting in it over the details. It's just like, go out there, fix it, do better, use that energy in a positive way to, get the result you're looking for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Are you also the type of guy who's, I mean, it seems to me that, it's like in a military institution, you have your officers and the chain of command, but the people that hold a platoon together are the sergeants, the non-commissioned officers. I mean, you are like a sergeant or a lieutenant on the Outlaws. So do you have to then, so if Jeremy may do what Jeremy's doing, do you have to then sometimes, because that was my role on every team that I was on. I was never the captain of the team, but I was constantly thrust into a role where I was like a sergeant or a lieutenant. So, we'd be getting berated on one end, or, a dictate would come down from the powers that be. And then I'd have to then go and sometimes, talk to one person about it, talk to another person about it a different way to try to motivate them. Is that something that you feel like is a role for you? And then how do you handle that role?
Yeah. I try to keep everybody just kind of like in their heads, like during the match, like, take a deep breath, keep them calm. Don't lose your composure in the moment. Just try to stay with it. And I mean, sometimes I'm dishing out the screaming and yelling just as much as anybody else. And
yeah, you do scream and yell sometimes.
I'll be getting on some people over something too. So it just kind of, it's the nature of the beast, I guess.
Yeah, it is the nature of the beast. Like you said, this isn't T-ball. And sometimes guys will hit me up and they'll be like, oh, my coach is this or that, or this guy's too hard. I'm like, look, man, you have to be willing to participate in that mental battle as much as the on-field battle, because, we had Ryan Greenspan recently on the show, and he discussed, and we had a pretty long conversation about how the battle of the minds between the core members of Dynasty over time and their willingness to berate the hell out of each other when need be, but argue about a game plan or a philosophy of the game. I mean, as they were changing the game, because Oliver would have he would say one thing about it, Ryan would say a complete opposite thing about it. And then sometimes Alex would, chirp in too and kind of, poke either one that he wanted to poke at that particular time, or he'd have his own thought on it, which would maybe be different. And then Yosh sometimes would come in and have to say, all right, enough, but having that mix really was part of the magic of their success and their willingness to engage. And so we discussed pretty thoroughly. If you guys haven't seen that, check it out. But, it was a pretty thorough discussion about what it's like to be in that mental battle while you're dealing with the physical battle and all the angles and all the X's and O's and, the technique and, the game plans, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, you definitely got to get loud occasionally and let people know if they messed up. But and then what do you guys think you need? Because I've always enjoyed watching the Outlaws play because you're willing to engage. I think you've brought on some guys. I feel, I've always liked watching you play because you pull shit out of your ass and it's awesome to watch. And then, I think Haber's an aggressive offensive talent. And some of the guys on your team, like you said, Stapula's been a key guy for you guys. Melching has come on. You've had Weinrob in and out trying to deal with regular life and juggle kids and jobs and stuff like that. So, but he has also been a key guy for you guys as well. So I feel I keep seeing flashes of talent there and flashes of execution that occasionally won't, it'll crumble down when you guys get a lead, or you'll blow a high body situation in a key moment. Like, what is it going to take to get you guys over that hump? And I think that's why Jeremy was frustrated and didn't want to talk to me again at the beginning of the season. Cause like he said, he's like, dude, I'm just tired of saying the same stuff to you every single year. You know, like it's just up to my guys to go out and execute, you know? So as one of those guys and a leader on the team, like, what is it going to take?
We just need to get everybody firing on all cylinders. It's kind of like, you know, everybody has their great moments. Like everybody's a great player, but it's then somebody else is making a mistake here, or it never seems to all come together for us. And I think it kind of comes through our preparation. We definitely need to, like, we got people all over the country, so it's hard to get 5 guys together like every weekend, like, you know, a pro team probably should be. And it's just, it's tough to, you know, do that when you got people all over and you only get to have like those couple weekends before an event to work through that stuff. But you're more worried about the layout instead of kind of worrying about your team kinetics and all that type of stuff. And but we've been working on trying to get like more of a locally based team where we can always at least have 5 guys that can show up and play together and kind of really kind of work through that and get over that hump that's kind of stopping us right now. And we've been making it a focus, and we're pretty much there. We've already got a couple practices planned out before this next tournament in September, and just kind of scheduling everything out, saying this is what's going to be going on, and really putting in the work, doing the drills to kind of get through that mid-game struggle that we always seem to have, and really get to the point where we're finishing games strong without, you know, having any of those slip-ups, you know. And, you know, you just got to keep fighting and keep working on the weaknesses.
Yeah, I just feel that situational drills for you guys, I mean, I almost want to, if I was coaching you, I'm sure you guys do these, but I would just go a whole day. I'd literally show up on Saturday and be like, today's going to suck. We're going to do 100 situational awareness drills today. We're not playing any points because we need to work on our flaws. Because and it's, you know, you guys, obviously you guys can gunfight, you can run and shoot, you know, you have aggressive threats that other teams have to worry about. You know, I like the moves you guys make sometimes, but then in the decisions made across the field, when you're in that scramble moment where, and this is why you've thrived as an individual, is because a lot of times when you have to play either on your toes or on your heels to tactically retreat or to make a big move going forward, that's when you've thrived and you've pulled off enough stuff where people are like, dude, Fred Berkley's pretty good. And that's why you became, you know, we just started calling you Mr. Consistent because you stay alive more often than you don't. You seem to always be there in those low body situations. And then if you guys don't win the high body situations, you're, you know, chucking your stuff in the pits and yelling at your dudes to stay, you know, alive and stop dying in key spots, which I've heard you yell at many dudes over the years, and rightfully so. But that's what I would do, man. If I was you guys, I would just do just a ton of situational awareness drills, you know, 2-on-4s, 3-on-2s, et cetera, et cetera. Like I put every single one of those situations. We got to close a game out in 60 seconds or point out in 60 seconds, that sort of stuff, because that seems to be where you guys are grinding your gears. Let's talk about Dave Haber real quick, because he's going to be a competitor in the Ultimate Shootout as well. He's going to be matching up with Jeremy Zimmerman, old school Texas dude, and in the quarterfinals for 003. Haber is so fun to watch, man. I mean, I feel like, and here, let's get a look at actually the situation. So TJ Danner's actually out because his knee was still messed up. And Andrew Wyatt stepped up to take the call to plug into that spot. And he's got, you know, he grew up in Florida. Andrew Wyatt then played with DMG. So anyway, so he's taking on Harrison Fry. But you're taking on Cody Mikowski, and then Haber came in to play Jeremy Zimmerman instead of Colt Roberts, who couldn't make it. So, you know, but let's just talk about Haber as a talent. I thought that was a huge pickup for you guys. I always joke during the games when we're watching them live and we're calling the games, I'm like, they might as well just let Haber start in the snake, because it seems like he never gets shot off the break and he's always in the snake. You know, and he's slowly but surely getting better at making the correct decision once he's in those spots. But he's an athletic freak. He's real fast. He's real aggressive. I mean, he's tailor-made to be a top-level snake guy once he gets a little bit more experience. You know, we don't know how good he's going to be at one-on-ones, because I remember when I saw him in the parking lot at the Ultimate Shootout when I drove out from California, and I was like, dude, have you played a lot of one-on-ones before? I mean, I love, you know, obviously, I'm sure you've heard me talk about how much I like watching you play, but dude, you play one-on-ones? He's like, well, at practice I play sometimes, but I'm normally dead in the games by the time when we get to the one-on-ones. That's Fred's job. But talk to me about what you think about Haber.
He's a great player. Like you said, he's very aggressive. I mean, that dude is a bull. He's not scared of anything. He's just gonna try to go out there and run his gun down your throat every freaking point. He's he's not gonna let up. And what he really needs is just kind of like growing into the game and kind of learning situationally, like when to kind of pump some brakes a little or stuff like that. Because like his aggression, he's just there's no stopping him. You literally just got to shoot him, and it's but he's been learning quite a bit. Like as we work together, we always kind of go over like everything. Like, okay, we do this when this happens and stuff like that. And he really picks up on everything. He's becoming a great communicator. Like when we're on the snake side together, we're really starting to click. Like just as we play together more and more and kind of get that continuity and stuff, it's really, I feel very strong. Like when we're over on the same side together, and it's a great player to have in front of me. Like if I'm playing the two on the snake side, and he's definitely a really good guy. He's just all around. He's just an awesome dude.
Yeah. Former vet, or he is a veteran too. Former, I think he was Marine.
Mm-hmm. Marine.
Yeah, he's a tough notes dude, but very nice and respectful too. He's a good guy. I really like Dave Haber. I think he's got a bright future. Let's talk about your game a little bit though. So you're matching up with Cody Minkowski, who you have a lot of history with. Cody's another guy in this specific situation. I mean, you guys are exactly the same player. You just play for two different teams. You both play that 2-3. You both are great one-on-one players. You both got awesome shots off the break. You're great gunfighters. I just think that it's, styles make fights, styles make gunfights. This is an interesting matchup from a stylistic perspective because you guys are mirror images of each other, and there is so much history between the two of you. So, I think this is going to be a fun one for everyone to watch. But what we had Cody on the show. He had pretty good things to say about you. I mean, what are your thoughts on Cody Minkowski as a paintball player?
Well, I mean, Cody's a great paintball player. He's a brother to me. We've won world championships together. He's obviously worth every ounce of his weight on the field. He's definitely a guy you'd want on your side if you're going out there to ride. Great player, definitely. He's like you said, it's a great matchup too. Like us two squaring up, that's one to watch. If you don't have a Go Sports account, make sure you get that. Tune in. It's a great match.
So what were your thoughts then? Because again, on how you look at the game and your style of play, as far as how it evolved. I mean, were you always playing this role? You're a giant dude. You're not like super thick, but you're a really tall guy. You got a huge booming voice, as everyone can tell. He sounds like Barry White, but you see your voice carries. And then another question I was wondering is, do you sing baritone in a barbershop quartet? Just was fun to throw that out there because you have the deepest voice in the league. Yeah. Yeah. We always joke. It's like, you can get that bass in the voice, but it's like, and then Todd and I would joke, as Nick's got a pretty deep voice too. But anyway, we would always be like, yeah, I'm Fred Berkley here. Just going to go up there and I'm just going to win this one-on-one right now, but from the talent perspective, talk to me a little bit about, your thoughts on the ultimate shootout. Obviously, you got 3 buzzers in the center of the field. You got the bonus buzzer, but seeing you in the scramble, seeing the way that you've kind of weaved your way through tense moments when you have to figure it out on the fly and make a big move, bunker guy out, win a gunfight, win a point. You've been able to do that. That's why you've become well known on a team that has not really done that well historically through the years and is always fighting for relevancy. But you've been a huge standout. So talk to me about your style of the game and then how you think it's going to apply here to the ultimate shootout format.
Originally I was kind of more of a front, more aggressive style player, whether it be like the middle or the D side, I could play front snake too. And actually I think 2013 in the World Cup, I played like the front snake for every point in finals, I think, when we played Red Storm. But I kind of have that aggressive nature. So it's like kind of when stuff comes down or I do lose like my front player, I want to push and keep kind of pressing on the other team and stuff. So I kind of have that aggressive mentality being a back player, if that makes sense. But
no, I feel you. That was the same thing. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. But I feel you because I feel the best back players are reformed front players. That was a big part of my career. I talked about this in a podcast with both Carl and with Tyler and Marcelo. But when Shane Pistana came to me and he was like, "Hey, I know you came up as a front player, picked you up as a front player. You're good there, but we have a lot of front players. We need a mobile back guy with a big voice. That's you. So I want you to play the spot." I didn't want to do it, but that was a transformational moment for me because that allowed me to excel in a position I didn't really want to play, but it ended up being one of the best things that I ever did. So is that something that you kind of just slowly gravitated towards with experience because you needed that role to be filled on the team organically, or was that something that was forced upon you from a coach or just the situation?
It just kind of, you kind of grow into it, I guess. Like usually you'd want like your least experienced player playing in the front. So your more experienced player kind of directs and is there to end the game and stuff. So I just kind of grow into that, I think, like any other player would, unless they just start as a back player. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it doesn't help us or any, I mean, yes, Mouse is huge. I mean, Mouse is 6 foot tall and probably 215 pounds of muscle. I'm 6'1". I mean, what are you, like 6'3"? I mean, you're a big dude.
Yeah.
So you got to be like 6'3" because you're taller than I am. And I'm thinking like, okay, cool. Athleticism aside, like you're a pretty athletic guy, but if you're over 6 foot tall, it's kind of hard to play the front. It's harder. It's not impossible. It can be done. And we've had some stellar front guys that are taller dudes, but typically speaking, it's a little bit easier for you to play that 2 or 3 if you're especially well over 6 foot tall, because then you actually have a good advantage. It's like Tyler Harmon is such a nasty one-on-one player, but one of the things that helps him is that he can play spots and shoot angles that other guys can't shoot. Same with you. And the Outlaws have had a lot of taller guys. I mean, I've talked to Jeremy about this before, and he says, I like having taller guys because it gives me, you need a couple little dudes out there for sure. That's great. You need some Cospicas, but it definitely helps to have some guys with size, because when you're walking the fields and you're looking at angles, if you have no one that's over 6 foot on your team, there are certain angles on the field that nobody can shoot. That the other team that has a Nick Sloviak or Fred Berkley or Cody Mikowski or God forbid, a Paya Mars from the ML Kings who's 6'6" or 6'7", like that guy can shoot angles that no one else can shoot. And if you're a snake guy trying to hide from that angle and you're not used to that because you've been dealing with dudes that are 5'8" to 5'10" or 11 for the majority of the time, because that's what most pro paintball players are, and then you come out all of a sudden you're dealing with a dude who's well over 6 foot tall, the angle that ball is coming down in the snake is a little bit more steep, and you may not be able to hide your pack from that.
Yeah. And even like if say you're just standing up gunfighting with somebody that's like not as high, it's always easier to gunfight down on somebody than for somebody to like shoot up, just based off like the projection of the ball, because the ball always, it wants to drop as it goes down. So to like kind of angle up, it's like you have to hit it just right if you're shooting upwards at somebody, as opposed to raining downwards at somebody. The ball just naturally kind of wants to drop down into them.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to me then about your style of play, and then how it's going to, how you think you're going to do at the Ultimate Shootout, again, just from a format perspective.
From practice, we practice this format quite a bit, and it seems like you kind of need a mixture. It's like you can't just rely on one style of just like, I'm just going to go out here and shoot this guy a bunch of times, or I'm just going to run at buzzards. You got to kind of, it feels like you have to be crafty and always like either like take a window when it opens up for you, whether it be like a buzzard or the guy's going to expose his body by moving. Just get whatever comes to you instead of like trying to force different aspects, and just kind of let them kind of be more reactive, as opposed to, just sticking to one thing and just kind of like, I'm just going to run for that blue buzzard over there, and that's what I'm doing. You definitely got to kind of keep your head on the swivel and just react to the game, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean that, if you look at, so we're heading into the semifinals of event number 2. Event number 1's in the books. Matt Jackson took it. His competitor that he was battling against in the finals was Dimitri Ninos. if you look at how those two made it into the finals, it was two slightly contrasting styles. Whereas Matt Jackson, who had 3 really close games that he had to fight through, and that kind of, I think, warmed him up, because every single game that Matt Jackson played was very close. Meter also had a close game, a little bit closer against Mark. But he was winning on kill streaks mostly. I mean, he added a little bit of aggression in there, but kill streaks was the way that he went with. It worked out for him enough. And then he had a few miscues. He had a couple gear issues. I mean, there were just, in another world, Meter Niños did win that game against Matt Jackson. And this is also new because we don't really know exactly, but similar to mixed martial arts, like can you win as a wrestler and just a jiu-jitsu guy? Of course you can. That people have proven that. But is it best to be, to utilize everything that you possibly can have in your bag of tricks, because it is mixed martial arts. So, if you have some elements of kickboxing, boxing, you could throw a great punch. You also are great on the ground. I mean, that's ideal. Same thing here in the gunfight. Now, if you want to have enough aggression so that your opponent isn't just worried about you hanging out in the back center and trying to win a gunfight, and because you have to worry about those buzzers. But that's what Matt Jackson had that was so special, and that was no surprise. I mean, he definitely came in as the favorite. Meter was also a favorite there too, so it wasn't a surprise to see Meter and Matt in the finals. And then the way that went out. But Matt just had a little bit quicker reactions. He won a couple battles here or there, got a couple good breaks with Meter. Dropping a lane real quick when his gun went down got his gun right back up again. But like you said, a situation where having a mix of the styles really seemed to work. That's why I really am excited for everyone to watch the semifinal battles that are about to go down at 002 here with Mark Baginski and Jesse Stevens, and then Clint Johnson and Meter Niños. Meter, obviously, out of the 4, has got to be the favorite because he made it all the way to the finals. And then, as you can see, there's 002. And again, everyone right now in this ultimate shootout situation is fighting for a place in the finale. So if you make it to that top 2, you then instantly get a chance to win your share of $10,000, the first place prize for the finale at the end of the year, which I think we're still getting it all set in stone of where and when exactly it's going to be. Probably late November, early December, I'm thinking is what we're shooting for. Potentially down in Florida. We're not exactly sure yet. It obviously depends on how everything with the coronavirus goes. But the first place trophy there, it's not just a trophy, it's also $7,000. So if you make it to the finale, that's an opportunity that is presented to you. That's a great payday for a paintball player. And with Mark Baginski and Jesse Stevens, and then Clint Johnson and Meter Niños there, again, I think Meter has to be the favorite overall on paper. Clint Johnson was a dark horse pick for me after I saw how things were working in the beta test, because when I watched his game against Nate Roberts in the beta test, and Clint had a good mix of gunfighting aggression when he needed to, but Clint also he lost his quarterfinal match in 001. So, that was, not a great look for him. So I think that, Meter's the favorite there. And then Mark Baginski, I don't think anyone, he got a huge break in a missed call on some points on a buzzer hit in his situation. Cause this is new to the competitors. It's also new to everyone we're trying to get everything as dialed in as we possibly can here. But so Mark got a little benefit of a good call there in a bloodbath against BJ. That was one of my favorite games. We're actually going to have Mark on the show. BJ, if you're listening, please text me back. I'm trying to get BJ on the show too. But give me your thoughts real quick here on these matchups and what of these guys. And then, Jesse Stevens, I mean, that dude wears his heart. We had him on the show recently too. But he pretty much dismantled Nate Roberts, who's a hell of a paintball player. Let's start with Baginski and Jesse Stevens. Fred, what do you think?
I think that'll be a really good I think they'll both be a really good matchup, but man, that's a tough call. I hadn't really known Mark Baginski before I watched that first one, but he actually played really well. He was very good with his gun, both hands. He was very active, moving around and keeping his gun in the air. And Jesse Stevens, he's a great gunfighter too, very quick. Mark's got a bit of a height advantage. On paper, I'd say you'd have to give it to Jesse, but I think it'll be closer than probably your Vegas odds would, predict, because Mark, he might be a new up and coming good player that's getting underlooked right here.
Yeah, Mark Baginski was impressive in that match against BJ. I didn't know what I mean, barely seen any of Baginski, aka the Iceman, and he was actually helping us do the smoke for 001. So he was sitting around. I didn't know who the hell he was, but we had a pretty good conversation about some stuff. And then I just thought he was some like local kid from the field. And then they're like, no, that's Mark Baginski. We call him the Iceman. He's going to be playing in 002, plays for Diesel. I'm like, oh, that's Baginski? Oh, okay, cool. But he just got here, so I'm not familiar. I wasn't familiar with him at all. But the mental battle that he also played with BJ when those calls were not going BJ's way, Mark was just like that little brother, just stabbing you with a little ice pick on the side, messing with you. So anytime BJ would go to argue about BJ, who had a very solid case. I mean, BJ definitely did not get good calls. I felt bad for BJ on that one, but which is why I'm trying to get BJ. Come on the show, let's talk about it. But Mark would, so BJ would say something like, that was ridiculous calls, bullshit ref. And then Mark would be like, no, it's not. No, he'd be like, I didn't play on. He's like, yes, you did. He would just be like the little guy on the sideline. He's not little, he's tall, but he's skinny. But anyway, he would just goad. He was just goading BJ the whole time, just trying to get in his head. And that was kind of impressive from like a competitive standpoint. And then he obviously had some skills to go blow for blow with BJ, even though, like I said, in another world, BJ wins that one. So we'll see if Mark can make the best out of some calls that went his way. But that's paintball, man. Like every time somebody comes and complains to me about a bad call that they got, and if you played enough paintball, you're going to have calls that don't go your way, and you're going to have calls that go your way. Sometimes somebody else gets screwed, and you're the benefit of that. And sometimes you're the one getting screwed. It's like, as I'm a huge fan of baseball, and they did a study one time that major league umpires, so the best in the entire world, because there was an argument, should they let robots start to call balls and strikes because they'll never get it wrong? And a lot of baseball purists were saying that no, part of the game is an umpire's strike zone. And so one of my brother-in-law is a massive baseball fan. I'm like a pretty decent baseball fan, but so we were arguing about this one day over beers, and he's like, hell no, that's part of the game. And then a study came out, and I showed him the study. I'm like, dude, umpires get calls that are on the edges, 1 inch, either a strike or not a strike. They get that call wrong 33% of the time. That's insane. The best these dudes are getting paid six figures to umpire baseball, to call balls and strikes, and they get it wrong 33% of the time. And there's definitely a bias towards the home team on close calls as well, too. It's a subconscious bias. This is not an obvious bias. These people would get fired if there was an obvious bias with how much money is at stake. But anyway, we're going to have Mark and hopefully BJ talk about that situation. I do feel bad for BJ though. But yeah, I think that Mark had a good look. Jesse is definitely the odds on favorite there if we're doing Vegas odds. But then, with the Clint Johnson Meteor Ninos match, what do you think about that one?
Man, I can't wait to watch that one. I think that's going to be really exciting. Meter, he's a great gunfighter. He's very kind of crafty with his shots, and he really knows how to sneak some in on people, and people really realize how good of a gunfighter that dude is. But I mean, you can't take anything away from Clint either. Clint's a great player. He's the Wildcat, man. He's going to be out there jumping and diving and doing everything out there. So that's a tough one to call. I'm going to go with Clint just because, that's my dude. Like, we're friends. He's going to go out there, probably drop the kickstand and start doing some work, I think. But, I mean, that could go either way. That's going to be a great match to watch, and I can't wait to see that one.
Yeah, I do agree that Meter is a very crafty gunfighter. We've seen that in his paintball career. I mean, we've had Meter on the show recently as well, too. We'll probably have him back on again. But he definitely has a nasty ability to sneak shots in, whereas Clint is a little bit more he's not as crafty of a gunfighter as Meter, and he's a little bit more of a bully because of the nature of his position. He needs to put a guy in and make a move. Clint's a front guy. Meter's played front before, but now his stock and trade, and now he helped X Factor win a series championship, was as that second attacker, as in a support player, but also like you had talked about in your career and others have done before. He started out as a front guy, slowly made his way back as he became more valuable. And so, yeah, and then we're getting a look here at August 10th. So, and we have undercards too now, because we, at the episode 3 and episode 4, we did the under 19s, the amateur division. We also did the masters division as well too, female division. But there you can see the battles that you're going to get to watch. You can see the battle that Mark fought against BJ. This is all Monday Night Paintball going down this Monday, August 10th. But yeah, it's been fun, man. Again, with the Ultimate Shootout, there was no way in hell that none of us here at Go Sports were going to just, get fat on our couches and sit around while, if we had an opportunity to try to roll something out to bring something to the paintball world that we could all sink our teeth into, that still had the ability to get it together, make it a show happen safely. But I really like the cast of 3 and 4. I know it was like, UFC fights again, where guys can make, they say they can make it, they can't make it. We're trying to get Harris Hussein, and he said he was going to be there, then couldn't get in. Cole was going to come, couldn't come. Again, it was just like, all right, just on the phone with Greg Pauly was just making it happen. So shout out to Greg and Rab and everyone for filling out the spots. And shout out to you for being willing to come down during the pandemic and battle here in 3 and 4. Again, your first matchup is going to be in the quarterfinals at 003 against Cody Minkowski. And I'm looking forward to this battle. Again, just mere images of each other. This one should be pretty nasty. So before I let you go, though, just real quick, talk to me about this last event that DMG, not damage, but Sacramento DMG took the victory. How was that event in Kentucky?
It was awesome. It was it had this like kind of weird unsanctioned speakeasy vibe going to it. It was a little more rougher around the edges than your typical NXL event. There was definitely a lot more shouting. I think Johnny Annucci was going to beat up some refs, and there was there was a little more words getting thrown around than probably your typical one. Definitely more entertaining to be at. The competition was pretty good. It was just, obviously DMG, they were there. They had the deepest roster. They were playing the best team paintball. Like, they were a unit. They weren't very aggressive. They were just kind of just going out there and locking things down. And, they played real consistent all weekend, and hats off to them for taking it. I mean, they had it together, and they definitely earned that. But all the teams, I don't think anybody just got shut out. Like, a lot were kind of right there in the middle, where everybody was kind of beating this team, but then that team beat the team that beat them and stuff like that. And it was good. I thought a lot of people complained about it, but I mean, they were very, everybody was pretty athletic and really on top of things. Like, they'd run right in there. They were really quick on the draw to check people and everything like that. And I don't know, you always get people complaining. Like, people are going to, complain about calls whichever way it goes, no matter what. Like, it's paintball, so I'm not looking too much into that. But for the most part, it was a great event. It was just great being out there to compete again. Feel like you're at a paintball event. All the teams that are walking around, you see all your friends and the camaraderie of that. It was just, you felt alive again, just being a part of that. And I'm looking forward to the next one next month. At the end of September, we're going to throw another one over at, I believe, Level Up's field in Columbus. So we're going to prep a lot more for this one and really try to, up our game. And we definitely feel like we're right there and we could win. So we just got to prepare for it better, I think, and not just kind of throw it together and just go and compete and stuff. So, but I mean, it was a great time. And if you guys can come out for the next one, that would be awesome, because you're going to get you'd probably get some gold on video, I'm sure.
Well, I would love if it was scheduled around the birth of my son, which is coming up in late September. So I have that hanging over my professional life here. So I got to figure that out, and we'll see. So I'm just crossing my fingers that everything goes well with the birth. But yeah, I would love to. Dude, we were trying to make it to this one. It was just, I appreciate it. We were trying to make it to this one. It was just a little too last minute. And, if we're going to do a show, we want to do a show. So yeah, but no, it was awesome that it was held. I'm glad you guys had a great time. Of course, people are going to be bitching about the refs, dude. Like, it's not a paintball event if people aren't threatening to kill the referees. I mean, that's just that's been happening every event I've ever been to since 1993. So it's going to continue to happen after I'm in the ground and buried, dude. So that will be it. It's that is thus it was written, thus it was written, thus it shall be. That is always going to be the way. But anyway, Fred, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. It was good to hear your story. I think that, you're a good guy to root for, man. You came up the hard way, And you've been holding the line for a team, like I said, that has been fighting for relevancy. And you have become really respected by your peers because of how hard you have fought in tough situations. And I'm excited to see what you have to bring to the Ultimate Shootout. So again, it's going to be thrown down against Cody Mikowski. That's 003. We don't have the schedule on when that is going to be out yet. We will keep you guys updated, obviously. But Monday Night Paintball, man, it's going down with the Iceman, Mark Baginski, the up-and-coming rookie. See if he can take down the veteran, Jesse Stevens. That's going to be the first one again, August 10th, this Monday. And a full undercard of some other awesome paintball battles. So any last thoughts? Anybody you want to thank before we sign off?
Yeah, I could do a shout out to the sponsors. Trade My Gun, Mike Schlemmer, the Paintball Plex with Jeremy Salm and Josh Berger, GI Sports, Planet Eclipse, Rise Custom, Die Paintball, HK Army, and Midwest Clothing. Shout out to them. Shout out to my mom, my grandma, my lady. Love you all.
Awesome. Well, hey, Fred, thank you so much for sitting in with me. I really appreciate it. Can't wait to see you at an event. Hopefully my kid comes out healthy and safe and on time so I could get back to coming to these events as quickly as I can. But yeah, man, I can't wait to it. And we are going to be having Tom Cole here on the show next week. So hopefully he'll be able to enlighten us as to what the deal is with the NXL. They say they're going to be doing World Cup. Hopefully that is the case, but again, remains to be seen. But Tom will be on the show next week to discuss that. Again, Fred Berkley, thank you so much for sitting in with me here on Go Sports Live, and make sure everyone mark your calendars every Monday from here until probably forever at this point in time. Actually, is we're going to be having one-on-one battles in the Ultimate Shootout, and I promise you this is going to be a good game between Mark Baginski and Jesse Stevens, and then next Monday after that, Clint Johnson and Meter Ninos. Again, everyone fighting for a chance to get on to that finale and play for a chance to win $7,000 as the first place prize. So Matty Marshall, Fred, again, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, thank you.
Monday night, Jesse Stevens versus Mark Ice Baginski. The Lou versus the Ice. Popcorn's ready, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go.
And here Ice is going to commit to try to hit that blue buzzer with the jump shot, and nobody hitting the buzzer. Oh, and they're just going to do the good old Texas standoff right now.
That should be a little bit of -5 on both these.
We haven't seen one of those yet.
Hey, Jesse, you got everything to lose, baby. Not today, kid.